Some of y'all know I just recently rebuilt the carburetor on this hangkai. It's a two-stroke, 6 horsepower, which I believe is a knockoff of the Mercury 5-horse two-stroke from the old days. Anyhow, rebuilt the carburetor. Hey Ronnie, welcome back. You saw I rebuilt the carburetor not long ago, and then I went to go gas it up, and my gas was bad. So today I went and got a couple of things for the fuel system, a new jug. Went through, mixed some new gas, and not new gas, but fresh. It's been kept airtight. So just put some fuel in it and got my dirty pants on, so we're gonna go ahead and fire it up. It may take a little bit to start it and feel pulse because it's still dry, like the carburetor's dry, but over the side here, turn the fuel switch on. I just put maybe half a tank in there. I don't want to have too much gas in there if I need to drain it later. But start it with it choked. As soon as I get a little bit of action, I'll turn the choke off. Ooh, that was quick. And there you have it. She's running. Running great. Okay, you hear how it's winding up and back down like that? That means I have the low idle set screw a little bit off adjustment. That means it's taking a little bit too long to respond to that. Here it's trying to run dry. Set the idle up a little higher and that should straighten it out. Or maybe the air fuel mixer might be just a half turn off. But I can toy around with that. That's fine, it's running. Let's see if it goes in gear. There's forward gear. And we're moving forward and put it back in neutral. Hit reverse. And we got reverse. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and turn the fuel valve off. And I want to run the carburetor dry because I don't want it sitting there day and night, day after day with okay. That tells me my shift linkage is a little off too. It was still kind of in gear a little bit. Okay, so it's running pretty good. Got a little slide adjustment. That may not be adjustment. It's because I turned the fuel valve. We should run out of fuel in a minute here. It takes a little while. This tells you I'm not drawing any fuel from the tank right now. It's just running on the fumes and a little bit of fuel that's left in the carburetor and fuel filter. Try to let it just run dry. Just bear with me, it'll be a little loud. It is a two-stroke, so it's a little loud, but I'd rather run it dry than to let it sit with gas in it. My shift linkage is a little bit off, so when I put it in neutral, it tends to kind of sort of be partly in one of those gears. I got to be careful of that and make sure I'm in neutral, when I go to start it, and I can adjust that. One of these days I'll show you guys how I fix that. It's no biggie. I know how it happened. I reached into the linkage with a screwdriver one day when the gear shifter was stuck. Again, left it sitting too long unlubed, and I had to pry it with a screwdriver, and it pushed the clamp down a little bit on the rod. So I just got to loosen it, slide it back in the right place, and then tighten it back down. Yeah. Well, I still got gas on the onboard tank, and you see how long it ran just on the fuel in the carburetor. Yeah, it's running pretty good. Oh, I didn't show you. I did check the water pump to make sure it's pumping water too. You know, that's important. If you've had, especially if you've had it sitting for a while and you got barnacles on the lower unit, especially around the intake and stuff, you need to make sure the water's coming out the pisser and the engine's cooling. Because if it's not spitting water out the back, that engine's might be getting hot. Not always. Sometimes, for example, when I fired this one up the first time, it wasn't spitting, and I took a little wire and stuck it in the pee hole and just poked a little salt. It's just salt deposits crusted on the edge. It comes loose and it starts pumping out right away. You know, it's not always. What the fuck are you talking about, Daku? Dude, you know what? You gotta go, man. I'm tired of your shit. I'm sorry, folks. I know some people have been putting up with Daku a little too long, but man, I'm just all he talks about. I put up with it too long. He's gone. Just always. Freaking gooning, man. Morning, Clint. Evening, Clint. Daku's gone. I had enough of it. Look, I tried to put up with him. I gave him a lot of leeway because, you know, he told me he's a virgin and he's, you know, never seen a naked girl and 24 years old and his parents won't let him see women and all this shit. You know, like, I feel bad for him. Yeah, he's from a different culture where, you know, but, dude, he's sitting there like, he keeps talking gay shit to me. Telling me, ride me. Like, dude, I don't want some dude. This is not a porn tube. Yes, Daku. No, it's been going on a long time. He's just been getting bolder and bolder. Like, I warned him on day one and he chilled out because of it, and freaking, he just been gradually getting bolder and bolder. I guess he thinks the more people start liking him, the more he can, you know. Yeah, I don't care if he gets down like that, but I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to freaking hear him spamming the chat with him spanking his monkey to me. Dude, I don't get down like that. I gave him more leeway than anyone else because I felt sorry for him. But, yeah. Susan, yes, the connector fit. But that's just the first step. I got the connector for the Mercury standard. It's 3/8, and going on it's really tight, but I think that's just because it's a brand new seal on here, which that's good. I don't want it leaking there. As long as I got good flow, this will work. So the Mercury connector does fit to the external, but I'll still have to get a fuel hose long enough to run all the way up to the front where I store the fuel tank. And then I need to get the nipple that screws into the fuel tank to connect the other end of the fuel hose to. So that's the next step. The first step, I just wanted to get this to see that it fit before I waste a bunch of money on all the other stuff. I didn't have a bunch of money to spend, actually. You know, 7.5, that should do. Is it a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke? Evinrude. That I don't know if that's an old motor. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be an older motor, like 90s, late 80s. Yeah, okay. Hell, those old 80s motors, they're great. 7.5 Mercury. It's got a push prop. They got good thrusts. I just recommend breaking the whole thing down. I mean, do a complete rebuild on it because it's an old engine. You know. I also would recommend, what is the fuel mixture call for on that motor? Is it 75 to 1 or 100 to 1? If it is, if it says 100 to 1, I'd run 75 to 1. If it says 75 to 1, you might want to run 50 to 1 or just a little under. You know, like maybe 60 to 1, 60, 65 to 1, but don't run it as hot as it calls for. If it calls for 100 to 1 or 75 to 1, don't run it that hot. But don't go any more than 50 to 1, because you're gonna just burn a bunch of smoke and foul up your spark plug. But the idea is you want to put a little more. Yeah, I'd go. I don't know what it calls for. You need to look up the specs on that motor. But if you put a little more oil than what it calls for, it's going to probably run a little better because it's so old, you know. But that's just, you don't ever want to go past 50 to 1 because it won't burn. Like, it just straight up so low octane, so much oil in it that it won't ignite. So you want to can I see you today? I don't even know who you are or where you are. You see me? I'm right here. All you gotta do is look. So yeah. Okay, so like, say if the motor calls for 50 to 1, yeah, that's generally a safe bet for old motors because that's as much oil as you can put in it and it still be volatile enough to run. You know, it'll be a little smokier than maybe it's supposed to, but that's fine. It won't hurt anything. You may have to clean the spark plug more often, but that's good. That little extra smoky means all the engine parts are getting lubed. You know, but you really want to make sure you check all the bearing channels. Make sure, like, you really want to kind of do a full engine rebuild just to clear out any stuck old oil channels, the bearings. I found, okay, there's a tube going from the crankcase ventilator up to the bearing just below the flywheel. Make sure that tube, pull the end off of the crankcase side and blow through it, and make sure that it's blowing through the bearing and getting some oil into that bearing, a little bit of fuel mix with the oil mix into that bearing, because the top bearing on your engine will seize up if it's not getting good flow from that crankcase tube going into that. The Mercury has a little tube attached on a little T onto that crankcase ventilation tube, comes out of that PCV valve, goes over and lubricates that top bearing, make sure it's working good. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, anytime you go in with an old motor and you're not sure about the fuel mix. What I do, like say, okay, if I'm going 1 gallon, mixing 1 gallon, it calls for 2.5 ounces. I put the full 2.5 ounces. If I'm going with 5 gallons, that's 12.5 ounces. So I go with maybe 11.5. So I'm going just under that's, like 55, 60 to 1. It's just a little bit, not quite as oily, but still plenty of oil. I just got tired of him gooning, Dorcas. He just constantly, gooning, talking sex crap, and just like freaking saying gay shit to me that just got sick of it. Like, I don't know if there's crawfish in here. This is saltwater. I mean, it's not even really a good lobster area. But nah, I don't eat a lot of fish. I eat a lot of bacon, eggs. Oh, it's good to hear that motor running. I haven't cranked it up in a minute. So, it's just good to hear it purr and know that I can pull up anchor and fire up. Yeah, there's definitely blue crabs in this area. I've seen them a few times in here. Whew. Okay, well, folks, I really wasn't gonna do a live feed so much as I just wanted to show, like, in the middle of finishing the rebuild, the phone shut off, my feed cut off, and so I had to do it in 2 segments. Like, I did the dismantle and most of the rebuild on the first one, and then just did a little segment of the last part of putting it back together. And then I didn't have fuel to put in it. The fuel I had was all messed up and full of water. So yeah, we had to put the starting of it off a little bit. So it's good. I just wanted to crank it up and show that on my channel. This has got to go public, and so so I don't really appreciate the gooning when I'm trying to put something that's good. Most of our chats get into the private. It's going into a members only for later. But certain things I want to show. So this is one of them. So I'm going to cut it short so it'll upload in a reasonable amount of time. And then, yeah. And I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, let me give you a look around this cove before I go. Alright, folks, I think what I'll do is I maybe cut this off and then just start a new live feed. So y'all have a good one. I shall be right back, and see you soon.